All right, welcome back to State of the Race. I'm Kasie Hunt. We're live in Washington. Joe Biden's campaign says the message is clear. The president's running for re-election because the fate of democracy depends on it. And in just a few hours, President Biden is going to give a major speech linked to the third anniversary of January 6th. And the attack on the Capitol by Donald Trump's supporters stunned the nation, proving the peaceful transfer of power does not seem to be a given. And rioters who believe the election was stolen assaulted dozens of police officers as they battled their way inside the Capitol building. It took hours for the National Guard to get to the scene. They were very, very long hours, as someone that was there waiting for them. We do have here today with us a former lawyer for the D.C. National Guard who has accused two top Army officers of lying about that delay. Colonel Earl Matthews says he's now facing retaliation. An Army spokesman did respond to these allegations, telling CNN, quote, "While I can't comment on an ongoing action, I can say, as we have before, the Army's actions on January 6th have been well documented and reported on, and General Flynn and Lieutenant General Pyatt have been open, honest, and thorough in their sworn testimony with Congress and DOD investigators." As the Inspector General concluded, actions taken, quote, "were appropriate, supported by requirements, consistent with DOD's roles and responsibilities, and compliant with laws, regulations, and other applicable guidance." The Pentagon says, quote, "We stand by all testimony and facts provided to date and vigorously reject allegations to the contrary." We are joined now by Colonel Earl Matthews and his legal counsel, Andrew Bakaj. Thank you both, gentlemen, for being here.
Thank you.
And Colonel, thank you for the role that you played in protecting the country on January 6th. I know I'm grateful, as are many others who were there that day. I just kind of want to start with a little bit of the facts of the case here, and also what you kind of are going through here personally. And you were with the National Guard on this day.
Correct.
And the Army and the National Guard were working together. The Pentagon and the National Guard were working together. And you say that there were generals who are now lying or have lied to Congress about what happened. Can you explain what they lied about?
Sure. So you say the Army and the National Guard. The National Guard is a part of the Army, where our uniforms say U.S. Army. So, I'll say that. But I'd like to go back to June of 2021, June 15, 2021. You had two senior officers of the United States Army, general officers, Charles Flynn, a full general, and Lieutenant General Walter Pyatt. They appeared before the House Oversight Committee. And they relayed testimony about January the 6th, 2021, and I say, and I stand by it, and I wrote about it, that their testimony was willfully inaccurate, that it was not a reflection of the truth or reality.
Because they blamed the Guard for the delay.
Well, right? they didn't do that, but they still didn't tell the truth. They said they actually said the Guard performed well. But that's not the problem. What they did was they came up with reasons why the Guard was delayed, and the reasons they provided were not true. And I can sort of explain. So the D.C. National Guard on that day, we were supporting the D.C. government initially before the riot commenced. We were doing traffic control duty. We were at 36 different locations around the city. So the question was, could those forces around the city at the traffic control points and metro stations be diverted to the Capitol to support the Capitol Police and the MPD? Well, Pyatt and Flynn said no, because they said that those forces had no riot control gear. You know, the shields, the batons, the face masks, the shin guards, the things they would need to respond to a riot. He said, they said that those things were located at the armory, but that was not true. Actually, our forces had riot control gear dispersed around the city, and it was readily accessible. It could be easily distributed to the guardsmen who are on duty. So that, again, that's a misstatement of fact, a material misstatement of fact. They testified in June of 2021, 5 months after the incident. They knew or should have known that the D.C. Guard had that equipment out there, and they lied about it to Congress. And, you know, Kasie, don't believe me. I encourage folks to go to C-SPAN, pull that hearing, look at the hearing, and I will tell you this: almost every word that General Pyatt and General Flynn state in that testimony is inaccurate and untruthful. And I'm a lawyer, so I'm just telling you that every single word almost every single word they utter in that testimony is inaccurate and untruthful. And it's borne out actually by the January 6th committee findings.
But were they doing that because they were trying to protect themselves from accounts that said that they were worried at the Pentagon about optics?
Exactly. That's exactly why they did it. So if you go back, so Chris Miller, who's the acting Secretary of Defense, at 3:04 p.m., he gave the Secretary of the Army full discretion to deploy the Guard to the Capitol. The Guard didn't get to the Capitol over 2 hours later. So they had to explain that 2-hour gap. And that's part of the reason was, they come up with several different reasons. I can give you another example, is the Quick Reaction Force. So we had a 40-man element at Andrews Air Force Base, Joint Base Andrews. These were Air Force security personnel who were trained. They had done 2 days of training in civil disturbance. They were fully kitted in civil disturbance. They were ready to respond. They could have been sent directly to the Capitol. Now, Pyatt and Flynn, in their testimony, falsely claimed that element was not actually a civil disturbance force. That was a lie. That was incorrect. Okay. So that's another example of things that I spell out in my. So I hope people will actually go look at the hearing and then read my memo and explain. I go line by line through their testimony and explain why they're not telling the truth.
We don't have a ton of time here, so sure. I just want to kind of cut to the heart of this, because sure. You're saying that you were retaliated against because you were willing to speak out about this.
Yeah,
what has it been like to go through that?
I'm not an always me guy. I'm not. I mean, so I really want to talk about the facts of the case, because that's really important. Yeah, I was retaliated, but I would just say that the other. I mean, and I talk about it in my memo. Documented instances of things that they said.
But it says a lot about them if they are retaliating against you for coming out and telling the truth.
And one of the things.
Well, I haven't said they directly. I'm saying people in the Army did that. And so, just to be clear, because it is true, but I didn't say those two.
So the key thing here, so I'm representing the Colonel before the DoD Inspector General. We filed a whistleblower reprisal complaint, which we hope will be kicked out to an independent Inspector General for investigation. What we're concerned about is the fact that Colonel Matthews did contact Congress and went point by point to refute or rebut elements of the DoD-IG report investigation into what happened on January 6th. Because he's been targeted for retaliation, that is prohibited by law. So we are filing a complaint. We have filed a complaint for this to be investigated. Now, the thing that I want to make clear is that the Colonel, as he's made clear, he is proud of being an officer of the military, of the Army.
I love him.
What's concerning here.
I mean, you're asking to be given. You want to stay in and do what you should be doing.
So listen. So I was recommended for promotion to general officer. I don't have to be a general, but it says a lot that even after my memo was published, a board of active duty and reserve officers recommended me for promotion. They knew what I did, and they still recommended me.
Well, what happened was we have. I think it was a couple of months after you had disclosed this to the Congress.
Yes.
I think Politico and the Washington Post published a story about Colonel Matthews' disclosure to Capitol Hill for the Jan 6 committees to the, I think, Hogar House.
Yeah.
And so when that was published, as we understand it, that resulted in the president pulling back the names of 2 generals, those general officers.
Well, General Pyatt. So the Army was pushing General Pyatt for promotion despite his.
Despite what happened.
Despite his not telling the truth before the Congress.
And so this goes back to, again, he believes in Army values. He's served in the military for many years. This is about 2 outliers or individuals who have targeted him for retaliation, and that's what we're focused on to ensure that there's accountability.
Those men don't reflect the Army values.
Colonel Matthews, thank you for your service. Thank you for your time today. Andrew Bakaj, thank you as well. And we'll be following your story as it unfolds.